The Galactic Assembly Chamber was enormous. It could hold 10,000 beings from 100 different worlds. Light came from everywhere and nowhere, designed to be comfortable for species who saw in ways humans could not even imagine. Captain Doan Park stood at the center of it all. He was feeling very small. He had been standing there for 3 hours. Around him, aliens of every shape and size talked among themselves. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had no solid form at all. They whispered and gestured and made sounds that his translator could not fully capture. Most of them were not looking at him. Du-Hun was a patient man. He had commanded the freighter Persistence for 12 years. He had survived engine failures, pirate attacks, and a particularly bad incident involving spoiled cargo and an angry client. He knew how to wait. But his sister was out there somewhere, taken by raiders. And these creatures would not stop talking. The council recognizes the human representative. A voice finally announced. Du-Hun stepped forward. His crew was watching from the visitor section. Lieutenant Yuna Choi, his chief engineer, sat with her arms crossed and her jaw tight. Sergeant Min-Ho Kong, head of security, had the calm face of a man who was already planning violence. Dr. Hannah Lim held a tablet, recording everything. Young Jiho Esio, the navigator, looked around with wide eyes at the aliens surrounding them. "Thank you," Doan said. His voice was steady. 3 weeks ago, my ship was attacked in Torian space. The raiders took 3 of my people. One of them is my sister." He paused. The chamber was quiet now. "I'm asking for the council's help to get them back." Ambassador Vel of the Torian Empire rose from his seat. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and eyes that held no warmth. The Torians had controlled this region of space for 6,000 years. To them, humans were children who had just learned to walk. "The council sympathizes with the humans' loss," Vel said. His voice was smooth like oil on water. "However, the raiders in question operate under Torian protection. They are a nomadic species with certain ... territorial rights. They kidnapped my people," Doan said. "They took prisoners during a territorial action. This is their way. It is how they have survived for centuries. I was in open space. I was not in their territory," Vel smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Space is complicated, Captain. Borders shift. Claims overlap. Perhaps your navigation was not as accurate as you believed." In the visitor section, Yuna made a sound of disgust. Min-Ho put a hand on her arm. Doan breathed slowly. "What would the council suggest I do?" "Accept your losses," Vel said simply. "All young species must learn this lesson. The galaxy is vast and often cruel. You cannot save everyone. In time, you will understand." High Counselor Bon, the ancient leader of the assembly, leaned forward. He was from a species so old that no one remembered their homeworld. His body was small and wrinkled, but his eyes were sharp. "Is there no other option?" Bon asked. Vel shrugged. The human could pay ransom. "The raiders sometimes accept payment. Of course, the amount would be ... significant." "How much?" Doan asked. "More than your species has earned in its entire spacefaring history." There was laughter in the chamber. It came from a dozen different species in a dozen different ways. Some clicked. Some hummed. Some made sounds like breaking glass. But the meaning was the same. They were laughing at him. Doan did not react. He waited for the laughter to stop. "I see," he said quietly. "Then I am asking the council to intervene directly. Send ships. Negotiate on our behalf. Help us." Vel looked at him with something like pity. "Captain, the raiders have been operating in this region since before your species discovered fire. They have agreements with us. They have history with us. Why would we risk all of that for 3 humans?" "Because it is right." More laughter. This time it was louder. Ambassador Vel raised a hand for silence. "The Torian Empire formally opposes any intervention. The raiders are under our protection. Any military action against them would be considered an act of war against us." The chamber fell silent. The Torian Empire had the largest fleet in the known galaxy. They had conquered species that humanity had never even heard of. No one challenged them. High Counselor Bon sighed. The council will vote. All those in favor of intervention? Doan watched. A few hands rose. Trader Nem, a merchant from the Silary species, voted yes. 2 others joined him. That was all? All those opposed? The chamber filled with raised hands, tentacles, and appendages of every kind. The motion fails, Bon announced. The council will not intervene. Doan nodded slowly. His face showed nothing. Inside, something cold and hard was forming in his chest. It was not anger. Anger was hot and fast. This was different. This was the feeling that came when all other options were gone. I understand, he said. May I speak once more? Bon gestured for him to continue. Doan looked around the chamber. He looked at Vel, at Bon, at the thousands of aliens who had just decided that his sister's life did not matter. When he spoke, his voice was calm, almost gentle. I came here because I believe in rules. I believe in asking for help before taking action. I believe that civilization means something. He paused. I was wrong. Vel frowned. Excuse me? I asked for help. I followed your laws. I respected your process. Doan's eyes met Vel's. You have chosen to do nothing. You have chosen what is practical, Vel corrected. Doan smiled. It was a small smile, but something about it made several nearby aliens step back. Fine, he said. I will do it myself. So laughter came again, louder than before. Vel shook his head like a parent dealing with a foolish child. Do what exactly? Attack the raiders alone. With one freighter? Captain, you are being emotional. I understand. Your species is young. You will learn. Dohan did not respond. He simply turned and walked toward the exit. His crew rose to follow him. In the visitor section, Trader Nem was not laughing. He had studied humans. He had traded with them. He had seen what they did when they were angry. He tried to catch Ambassador Vel's attention. But Vel was too busy enjoying the joke. Nem watched the humans leave. The captain walked with perfect calm. The engineer's hands were already moving, planning something. The security chief moved like a predator among prey. The doctor was still recording. The young pilot looked back once, and his eyes were not afraid. They were determined. Nem felt a chill run through his body. He had seen that look before, in historical records from a dozen conquered worlds. It was the look of a species that had just stopped asking permission. The galaxy, he realized, had just made a terrible mistake. But no one would listen to him. No one ever did. The doors closed behind the humans, and the assembly returned to its business, already forgetting the small creatures who had dared to ask for help. They would remember soon enough. The Persistence floated in the darkness between stars. Inside, the crew gathered around a table covered with star charts and technical drawings. No one had slept in 2 days. Doan looked at his people. They were tired. They were angry, but not one of them had suggested giving up. The raiders operate from a base in the Broken Belt, he said, pointing at a cluster of asteroids on the map. Approximately 40 ships, maybe more. They have been raiding this sector for 300 years. Yuna leaned forward. Her hair was messy, and there were dark circles under her eyes, but her mind was sharp as ever. Our ship cannot fight 40 raiders. We have cargo shields and 1 defensive cannon. That is it. Then we will need more ships, Minho said quietly. From where? Jiho asked. He was the youngest of them, barely 22 years old. The council refused to help. Earth is too far away. We are alone out here. Doan shook his head. We are never alone. There are 17 human ships within communication range. Freighters. Mining vessels. Survey ships. None of them are military, Yuna pointed out. Neither are we. Doan smiled slightly. But we are human. We will make do. He was right. Within 6 hours, the messages started coming back. Captain Bora Kim of the mining ship Heavy Lifter was the first to respond. Tell me where and when. Those raiders took my cousin's ship 4 years ago. She never came back. Engineer Tai Wuhan sent a simple message from his repair station. I have spare parts. I have tools. I have nothing better to do. Count me in. The research vessel, Curious Mind, led by Dr. Sujin Yoon, offered their advanced sensors and scientific equipment. "We cannot fight," she admitted, "but we can find them, and we can help you plan." One by one, the humans answered. By the end of the week, 17 ships had gathered at a hidden point in deep space. They were not warships. They were not soldiers. They were traders, miners, scientists, and explorers. But they were angry, and they were willing to help. Yuna walked through the fleet with a critical eye. Most of these ships were in poor condition. Their engines were old, their weapons were weak or non-existent. Against Taurian warships or raider attack craft, they would last minutes. "This is impossible," she muttered to herself. Then she smiled. "Good. I like impossible." She gathered every engineer from every ship. They met in the cargo bay of Heavy Lifter, surrounded by mining equipment and spare parts. "Forget what you know about ship design," Yuna told them. "Forget safety regulations. Forget what the manufacturers say. We are going to build something new." She pointed at a pile of mining lasers. "Those cut through asteroids. They can cut through armor." She pointed at a stack of hull plating meant for deep space mining stations. "That survives micrometeorite impacts. It can survive bullets." She pointed at an engine that was clearly too large for any of their ships. "That was designed for a ship 3 times our size. We are going to make it fit anyway." The engineers looked at each other. Then they started working. For 2 weeks, the human fleet transformed. Mining lasers became weapons. Cargo shields became battle armor. Engines were pushed beyond every limit their creators had imagined. Minho trained volunteers in combat. Most of them had never held a weapon. He taught them anyway. "Forget what you have seen in movies," he told a group of miners. "Real fighting is ugly. It is fast. It is confusing. Your only goal is to survive and complete the mission." A young woman raised her hand. "What if we are scared?" Minho looked at her steadily. "You will be scared. Everyone is scared. The difference is what you do with that fear. Fear can make you run. Fear can also make you fight harder than you ever thought possible. In close combat, this is worth more than any laser rifle. It never runs out of power. It never jams. And it terrifies enemies who expect us to fight from a distance." The miners stared at him. On their worlds, humans were considered a peaceful species. They built things. They traded. They explored. The idea of humans fighting with knives seemed almost unreal. Minho smiled grimly. "Our ancestors hunted with spears. They chased animals across plains until the animals collapsed from exhaustion. They survived ice ages and floods and wars and plagues. Do not underestimate what we are capable of when we need to be." Meanwhile, Dr. Hannah Lim studied everything she could find about the Raiders. Their biology, their culture, their history. "They are reptilian," she explained to Doan. "Cold-blooded. They sleep for several hours every day and cannot function well in cold temperatures. Their eyes are adapted for darkness, which means bright light blinds them temporarily." Otto nodded. "What about their psychology?" Hannah paused. "They have been raiding for centuries. They have never been seriously opposed. No species has ever attacked their home territory. They believe they are untouchable. They believe wrong." Hannah looked at her captain. She had served with him for 8 years. She had never seen him like this. He was not angry. He was not desperate. He was simply certain. "Doan," she said carefully, "are you sure about this? If we fail, ... we will not fail. But if we do, if we attack and lose, it will not just be us. It could affect every human in this sector. The Taurians might retaliate." Dawn was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft. "My sister's out there, scared, alone, waiting for someone to come for her." He looked at Hannah. "What would you do? If it was your family?" Hannah did not answer. She did not need to. Far away on the Galactic Assembly Station, Trader Nem tried one more time to warn someone. He found Admiral Taurian, fleet drinking something sweet in an expensive bar. The Admiral was large and confident, with scars from a dozen battles on his gray skin. The humans are planning something, Nem said. I have heard reports. They are gathering ships. Admiral Kor laughed. Humans? Those soft little creatures? What could they possibly do against raiders who have fought for 3 centuries? They are not soft, Nem insisted. I have traded with them. I have seen their history. On their homeworld, they hunted by chasing prey until the prey died from exhaustion. They call it persistence hunting. The Admiral waved his hand dismissively. Old stories. They are merchants now, explorers. They cry when their people die. They have no stomach for war. That is what worries me, Nem said quietly. They do not want war, but when they are forced into it. He shook his head. There is a human saying, beware the anger of a patient man. Admiral Kor drained his drink and stood up. You worry too much, traitor. The humans will make noise for a few weeks, and then they will accept reality. They always do. He walked away, leaving Nem alone with his fears. Back in deep space, the human fleet finished its preparations. 17 ships. 300 volunteers. Weapons that should not work, and armor that should not hold. Doan stood on the bridge of persistence and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, his sister was waiting. Captain Jiho said from the navigation station, Courses plotted. We are ready. Dohan turned to face his crew. Yuna at engineering. Minho at weapons. Hannah at medical. Jiho at navigation. They looked back at him with trust and determination. Signal the fleet, Doan ordered. We move in 1 hour. The humans were coming, and they were not going to ask permission. The Broken Belt was a graveyard of asteroids and forgotten ships. For 300 years, the raiders had called it home. No enemy had ever dared to enter. The first warning came when a patrol ship disappeared. One moment it was there on the sensors. The next moment it was gone. No distress call. No explosion. Just silence. The raider commander, a scarred veteran named Cross, assumed it was an accident. Asteroids were dangerous. Ships crashed. It happened. Then a second ship vanished. And a third, Cross finally understood when the humans appeared on his sensors. 17 ships moving in perfect formation through the asteroid field. They were not sneaking. They were not hiding. They were coming straight at him. He laughed when he saw them. Freighters and mining ships held together with welded plates in desperate hope. His raiders had real warships built for killing. Send 10 ships to intercept, he ordered. Make it quick. 10 raider ships screamed toward the human fleet. Their weapons were hot. Their pilots were eager. They had done this 1,000 times before. The first sign that something was wrong came. When the human ships did not run, every other species ran when they saw raiders. It was instinct. It was survival. But these humans just kept coming, spreading out slightly, adjusting their formation. The raiders opened fire. Their weapons were precise and deadly. 3 human ships took hits. Those ships kept coming. On the bridge of persistence, alarms screamed. A section of hull was breached. Atmosphere was venting. Damage reports flooded every screen. Seal that section, Doan ordered calmly. Yuna, how are the engines? Still working, Yuna reported. Her hands flew across her console. I told you the modifications would hold. Weapons ready, Minho said. Fire. Mining lasers that had once cut through solid rock now carved through raider armor like paper. The lead raider ship exploded in a ball of fire. Then the second. Then the third. The remaining raiders hesitated. This was not supposed to happen. Human ships were supposed to be weak. Human weapons were supposed to be harmless. That hesitation was fatal. Heavy lifter. The mining ship rammed directly into a raider vessel. The impact was massive. Both ships spun wildly through space. But Heavy Lifter had been built to survive asteroid impacts. The raider ship had not. It broke apart in seconds. On the mining ship's bridge, Captain Bora Kim wiped blood from her forehead and smiled. That was for my cousin. The battle spread across the asteroid field. It was chaos. It was madness. And the humans were winning. They fought in ways that no galactic species had ever seen. They did not follow rules. They did not maintain distance. They got close, terrifyingly close, and used weapons designed for construction and mining as instruments of war. A research vessel used its scientific scanning laser to blind raider pilots. A cargo ship opened its bay doors and launched containers of mining explosives like missiles. A small transport ship flew directly into a raider's engine, exhaust and detonated, taking the larger ship with it. The pilot of that transport had ejected moments before impact. He floated in space, waiting for rescue. Watching the explosion with satisfaction, Commander Cross received the battle reports with growing disbelief. 7 of his 10 ships were destroyed. The remaining 3 were running back to base. "This is impossible," he hissed. "They are merchants. They are nothing." But the sensor data did not lie. The humans were pushing deeper into the broken belt, and they were not stopping. Far away, Admiral Kor received word of the battle. He stared at the report for a long time. "How many casualties?" he asked. "The raiders lost 7 ships," his aide reported. "The humans lost 3, but ... The aide hesitated. "But what?" "The crews survived. They ejected and were recovered by other human ships. They are already back in the fight." Kor felt something cold in his stomach. He had seen many species fight. He had crushed rebellions and conquered worlds. But he had never seen anything like this. Humans did not stop. Humans did not accept defeat. When their ships were destroyed, they ejected and kept fighting. When they were wounded, they bandaged themselves and kept fighting. When they were outnumbered and outgunned, they found new ways to fight in the broken belt. The second wave of raiders met the humans head-on. This time, Cross sent 20 ships. He expected overwhelming victory. He got something else entirely. Minho led a boarding party onto a raider vessel. 12 humans in spacesuits, armed with modified cutting tools and simple knives. They cut through the airlock in 30 seconds. They took the ship in 11 minutes. The raiders inside were larger and stronger than humans. They had natural armor and claws that could tear through metal. None of it mattered. Humans fought dirty. They threw things in their enemies' eyes. They attacked joints and soft spots. They used the ship's own environment against the cold-blooded raiders, opening vents to let in the freezing void of space. When it was over, Minho stood on the captured bridge, breathing hard. His suit was torn. His arm was bleeding. But he was alive, and the ship was his. "Persistence. This is Minho. Package secured." Doan allowed himself a small smile. "Good work. Move to Phase 2. Phase 2 is even crazier than Phase 1. Jiho piloted its persistence through the asteroid field at speeds that should have killed everyone aboard. He dodged rocks by meters. He used gravity wells to slingshot around obstacles. His hands moved faster than thought, guided by instinct and training. Yuna had disabled the safety limits on the engines. They were running at 140% capacity. Warning lights covered her console like a red constellation.
"How long can we maintain this?"
Doan asked. "No idea," Yuna admitted cheerfully. "This has never been done before. We might explode. We might not. Exciting, right?" They did not explode. The raiders could not track them. The humans moved too fast, too unpredictably. They appeared from nowhere, struck hard, and vanished before anyone could respond. Dr. Hannah Lim worked in the medical bay without rest. Wounded humans came through her doors constantly. She patched them up and sent them back to fight. Most of them did not complain. Some asked why she was not giving them more time to recover. "Because your friends need you," she said simply. "Because every minute counts. Because that is what we do." A young miner with burns across his chest nodded and picked up his weapon. "Yes, Doctor." He was back in combat 10 minutes later. The battle lasted 2 days. When it was over, the raiders had lost 31 ships. The humans had lost 8. But the humans had achieved something the galaxy had never seen. They had fought their way to the raider homeworld. Commander Cross stared at his sensors in disbelief. The human fleet, battered and broken, hung in orbit above his world. They had done the impossible, and they were not leaving. On the Galactic Assembly Station, High Counselor Bond called an emergency meeting. The chamber was full. Every species was watching. The humans have defeated the raiders, Ambassador Vell reported. His voice was shaky. They have surrounded the raider homeworld. Defeated, Bond repeated. How? We are still analyzing the battle data. Their tactics were... Vell struggled for words. They were unlike anything we have seen. They did not fight like a civilized species. They fought like animals, like predators. Trader Nem stood up. I tried to warn you. Humans are persistence predators. They do not need to be faster or stronger. They simply do not stop. The chamber was silent. Bond turned to Admiral Kor. What are your recommendations? Kor's face was pale. We could send the fleet, destroy them before they do more damage, and start a war with humanity. Kor did not answer. He was looking at the battle data on his screen. Humans fighting hand-to-hand in zero gravity. Humans ramming their ships into enemies. Humans refusing to surrender even when their ships were falling apart around them. He did not want to fight that. No, one did. In orbit above the raider world. Doan Park stood on his damaged bridge and looked down at the planet below. Captain Jiho said quietly, They have our people down there. What do we do now? Doan's face was calm. His voice was steady. Now we get them back. Commander Cross stood in his fortress and watched the human ships circle his world. He had never felt fear like this before. His entire life, he had been the predator. Now he understood what prey felt like, but he was not finished yet. He still had one weapon left. Send a message to the human fleet, he ordered. Tell them we have hostages. 63 prisoners from 6 different species. If they attack, we will kill them all. The message reached Persistence in seconds. Doan read it with a calm face. His crew watched him nervously. Captain Hannah said quietly, They have your sister. I know. What do we do? Doan was silent for a long moment. Then he opened a channel to the raider commander. This is Captain Doan Park of the human vessel Persistence. I have received your message. His voice was flat and cold. You have 1 hour to release all prisoners. All of them. Not just humans. Everyone you have taken. Cross laughed. Or what? You will attack. We will kill them before your ships even reach the surface. I am not going to attack your surface, Doan said. I am going to destroy everything else. Every ship, every station, every satellite, every piece of technology that allows you to travel through space, you will spend the next century rebuilding. Your species will never raid again. You are bluffing. I never bluff. 1 hour, Doan closed the channel. YUNA looked at him with wide eyes. Can we actually do that? Yes. Doan turned to face his crew. We did not come here for revenge. We came here for our people. But if they force us to choose between their infrastructure and innocent lives, there is no choice at all. The hour began. In that time, the human fleet reorganized. Damaged ships pulled back. Armed ships moved into position. Mining lasers that had cut through raider warships now targeted orbital platforms and space stations. On the surface, Commander Cross watched the humans prepare. Part of him still believed they were bluffing. Humans were soft. Humans cried when people died. Humans did not have the stomach for this. Then the hour ended. Doan gave the order. The first orbital station exploded in a ball of fire. Then the second. Then the third. Human ships moved through the debris field, targeting everything that moved. Raider ships tried to launch, but the humans were waiting for them. Mining lasers cut through engines and weapons and life support systems with surgical precision. It was not a battle. It was an execution. The humans did not fire on the planet. They did not kill civilians. They did not touch the cities or the homes or the schools. They only destroyed what the raiders needed to reach space. In 30 minutes, 300 years of raider spacefaring capability was gone. Commander Cross watched his world become a prison. Without ships, without stations, without satellites, his people could never leave. They were trapped on their own planet, surrounded by the wreckage of everything they had built. "Stop," he finally said. His voice was broken. "Please, stop." Doan's voice came through the speakers, calm as ever. "Release the prisoners." "I will. I will release them. Just stop. Send them to the following coordinates. All of them. If even one is missing, we continue." The prisoners were loaded onto shuttles and sent into space. Human ships intercepted them carefully, guiding them to safety. Minho led the team that boarded the first shuttle. Inside, he found humans and aliens crowded together, thin and scared and confused. Some had been prisoners for years. They could not believe what they were seeing. "Who are you?" a Silary woman asked. She was barely conscious, her body covered in scars. "We are humans," Minho said simply. "We came to take you home." On the third shuttle, Doan found his sister. Jimin was thin and pale, but alive. When she saw her brother, she started to cry. Doan held her tightly, feeling her shake in his arms. "Ah, I knew you would come," she whispered. "I knew you would not leave me." "Never," Doan said. "Never." In the medical bay of persistence, Dr. Hannah Lim worked without rest. 63 prisoners needed care. Many of them were injured. Some were sick. All of them were traumatized. Hannah treated them all equally. Humans and aliens. Friends and strangers. It did not matter. They were all victims, and they all deserved help. A Taurian prisoner looked at her with confusion. "Why are you helping me?" "Your people are at war with mine." Hannah shook her head. "We are not at war with anyone. We came for our people. You were taken from yours. That makes you one of us." The Taurian did not understand, but he accepted the medicine she offered and let her treat his wounds. On the Galactic Assembly Station, the Council watched everything in stunned silence. High Counselor Bond was the first to speak. They rescued everyone. Not just humans, everyone. Ambassador Vel said nothing. His face was gray. Trader Nem stepped forward. "The humans have destroyed the Raiders' ability to travel through space. They have eliminated the threat that has terrorized this sector for 3 centuries, and they did it in 3 days." "Why did they rescue the others?" a delegate asked. "The aliens who were taken? Why would humans risk their lives for strangers?" Nem smiled sadly. "Because that is what humans do. They form connections. They protect those who cannot protect themselves. They see someone suffering and they cannot look away." Admiral Kor finally spoke. "This changes everything. If humans can do this, if they are willing to do this, what else are they capable of?" No one had an answer. In orbit above the Raider world, Doan received a final transmission from Commander Cross. "You have won," the Raider said. His voice was empty. "You have taken everything from us. What more do you want?" Doan considered the question carefully. He could demand payment. He could demand surrender. He could demand anything, and the Broken Raiders would have no choice but to agree. "Instead," he said, "I want you to remember this day. Remember what happens when you take innocent people from their families. Remember that there are species in this galaxy who will not accept it. And remember that we gave you the chance to surrender. You chose not to take it." Cross was silent. "We are leaving now," Doan continued. "We are taking the prisoners home. We will not return unless you give us a reason to." He paused. "Do not give us a reason." The human fleet turned away from the Raider world. They left behind destruction and silence. But they also left behind something else, a lesson that the galaxy would not forget. On the journey home, the rescued prisoners slowly recovered. They ate food they had not tasted in years. They saw stars from windows instead of cells. They talked to each other, sharing stories, forming new connections. A young Solari girl sat next to Jiho in the navigation bay. She watched him work with curious eyes. "You fly very fast," she said. Jiho smiled. "I have to. My friends depend on me. You came very far to rescue us." "Yes." Jiho thought about the question. He thought about the assembly laughing at them. He thought about the weeks of preparation, the battles, the fear and the pain and the determination. Because someone had to, he said finally, and no one else would. The girl nodded slowly as if this made perfect sense. Maybe it did. In her quarters, Jim and Park slept peacefully for the first time in months. Her brother sat beside her, watching her breathe. Grateful beyond words that she was safe. They were going home, and the galaxy was watching. 3 months had passed since the Battle of the Broken Belt. The galaxy had not stopped talking about it. Every species had seen the recordings. Human ships held together with welded plates and determination. Human crews fighting with mining equipment and kitchen knives. Human doctors treating alien prisoners with the same care as their own people. Human captains refusing to give up, refusing to stop, refusing to accept that anything was impossible. The story spread faster than light itself. On 100 worlds, beings whispered about the small creatures who had asked politely for help, been refused, and then done the impossible anyway. Some were afraid. Some were impressed. All of them were curious. Now Captain Doan Park stood in the Galactic Assembly Chamber once again. But everything was different. The chamber was full. Not thousands, but tens of thousands of beings had come to see him speak. They hung from balconies and filled every corner of the massive room. Species that had laughed at him 3 months ago now watched in respectful silence. High Counselor Bond rose from his seat. He was old and tired, but his eyes were sharper than ever. Captain Park, the Council has invited you here to address the Assembly. You may speak. Doan looked around the chamber. He saw Ambassador Vel, sitting quietly in his section, no longer smiling. He saw Admiral Kor, whose fleet had stayed far away from the human ships. He saw Trader Nem, who gave him a small nod of greeting, and he saw his crew, watching from the visitor section. Yuna, with her proud smile, Minho with his quiet strength, Hannah with her gentle eyes, Ji-Ho with his youthful hope, Jimin, his sister, alive and safe beside them. Thank you, Counselor, Doan said. His voice carried through the silent chamber. I did not expect to be here again. A few nervous laughs echoed through the room. 3 months ago, I stood in this chamber and asked for help. I was refused. I was told that my people did not matter. I was told to accept my losses and move on. He paused. I did not accept. I could not accept. And now I have been asked to explain why. He took a breath and continued. Humans do not seek conflict. We are not warriors by nature. We build things. We explore things. We ask questions and look for answers. Most of us would rather solve a problem with words than with weapons. Doan's voice hardened slightly. But when our people are taken from us, we do not forget. When innocent lives are threatened, we do not look away. When someone we love is in danger, we will cross the galaxy to save them. He looked directly at Ambassador Vel. He called us a young species. You said we needed to learn our place. Perhaps you were right. We are young. We have much to learn. But we also have something to teach. Vel did not respond. His gray face was unreadable. We taught the raiders a lesson they will never forget. We destroyed their ability to hurt anyone ever again. And then we did something that seems to have confused many of you. Doan smiled slightly. We stopped. A murmur ran through the chamber. Several delegates leaned forward in their seats. We did not destroy their planet. We did not kill their civilians. We did not demand territory or payment or revenge. We simply took back what was ours and left. High Counselor Bond spoke up. May I ask why? You had every right to do more. You had the power. Why did you hold back? Doan considered the question carefully. Because we did not want war. We wanted our people back. We wanted the raiding to stop. We achieved both goals. Anything more would have been cruelty, not justice. He looked around the chamber. Humans are capable of great destruction. You have seen that now, but we are also capable of mercy. We hope you will remember both. As the chamber was completely silent, we did not come to the stars to conquer. We came to explore, to trade, to learn, to grow. We want to be your partners, not your enemies. We want to build things together, not tear them apart. Doan's voice softened. But if you threaten our people, we will respond. If you take our families, we will come for them. If you push us into a corner, we will push back harder than you can imagine. He paused. This is not a threat. It is simply who we are. We would much rather be your friends. We hope you will give us that chance. He finished speaking and waited. The silence stretched for a long moment. Then slowly, something remarkable happened. Trader Nem began to clap. The sound echoed through the chamber. One by one, other delegates joined him. The applause spread like fire, growing louder and louder until the entire assembly was on its feet. Even Ambassador Vell, after a long hesitation, brought his hands together. High Counselor Bond raised his hand for silence. Captain Park, the Council has a proposal. In light of recent events, we believe it is time to reconsider humanity's position in our community. Looked around the chamber. I call for a vote to grant humanity full membership in the Galactic Assembly. With all the rights and responsibilities that entails, the vote was unanimous. Doan stood in shock as the chamber erupted in cheers. He had come here expecting suspicion or fear. He had not expected acceptance. Trader Nem found him afterward, in a quiet corner away from the crowds. You terrified them, Nem said. Doan shrugged. We also rescued them. The raiders had taken prisoners from 6 species over 40 years. No one else went to get them back. Nem nodded slowly. That is what changed their minds. Not the fighting. The mercy afterward. They realized that humans are not monsters. You are simply very, very loyal. Is that a bad thing? It is a dangerous thing, Nem smiled. But it is also a wonderful thing. The galaxy needs more species who care about each other the way humans do. He held out his hand in the human fashion. Dohan shook it.
Act.
Welcome to the assembly, Captain. I think you will do well here. Later that night, the crew of Persistence gathered in a small restaurant on the station. Human food was still rare this far from Earth, but Una had found a place that served something close to home cooking. They sat around a table covered with dishes and drinks, talking and laughing like they had not done in months. I still cannot believe it worked, Jiho said. When we left Earth, I thought we would be traitors forever. Now we are heroes. We are not heroes, Minho corrected. We are just people who refuse to give up. Same thing, Hannah said with a smile. Una raised her glass. To Persistence. The ship that held together with welded plates and spite. Everyone laughed and raised their glasses. Doan looked at his crew, his family, his friends. They had gone through hell together. They had fought battles that should have been impossible. They had saved 63 lives and changed the course of galactic history, and now they were sitting in a restaurant, eating bad food and telling bad jokes, just like any other group of friends. That he realized was the real victory. Jimin leaned against her brother's shoulder. What do we do now? Doan thought about it. They could return to Earth as heroes. They could retire and live comfortable lives. They could do anything they wanted. The same thing we have always done, he said finally. We fly. We trade. We explore. We help people who need help. He smiled. That is what humans do. Through the restaurant window, the stars glittered in the endless darkness of space. Somewhere out there, millions of worlds waited to be discovered. Millions of stories waited to be told. Millions of lives waited to be touched. The humans had earned their place among the stars, not through conquest, not through fear, but through loyalty and determination, and the simple refusal to give up on the people they loved, and the galaxy. Finally understood. When humans said, fine, I will do it myself, it was not a threat. It was a promise. A promise that no matter how dark things got, no matter how impossible the odds seemed, someone would always be willing to stand up and fight, not for glory, not for power, but for the simple, stubborn, beautiful belief that every life matters. That was humanity's gift to the stars, and it was only the beginning.